Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puckon. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24111.
Thanks, Pat. Welcome back to the second hour of Tip Today. 1800 938 007. The text and WhatsApp 083 311 3311. Now, a couple of people on to us with the query, why can't councillors turn up in person instead of Zoom? They should all be there for such an important meeting. We also had a text in that goes that the most important meeting in the entire year is the budget meeting. It's one of our most important reserved functions. I understand both councillors work full time, but it would have been better if they were physically present at the budget meeting. There was a short delay at the 10 a.m. start, but the executives were not in a meeting with any councillors at that time, as it was stated by Councillor Dunn on the radio just now. The council staff were all present in the chamber when I arrived at 10 a.m. So that's in from one of our councillors, and we'll see if we can get that councillor on air with us, just to provide a bit of balance in the conversation there. 083 311 3311. Okay, lots more in on that, and we will get back to it. But right now it's time for this.
Financial advice with FOH Financial Limited. Tried, trusted and experienced advice. See FOH.ie. FOH Financial Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Francis O'Hanlon from FOH is with me in studio. Francis, good morning.
Hi,
to
Fran.
you. And guess what? It's all about pensions, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think
all
this
of our
is probably
queries.
It was a follow-up to our previous session. So as you, our listeners know, we like to listen and we like to answer the questions that people take the time to send in. So
For sure,
that's
yeah.
really kind of following up. So it just shows I suppose the interest and questions around pensions. That is the bog that pensions are in Ireland.
And of course, the big conversation is auto-enrollment now at this point, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go with question number one then. Can a government employee opt into this new system?
So I presume new system, they're talking about the auto-enrollment.
Yes.
So I'd say no, unless they are not a member of a public service pension scheme. You would expect if they're working for a government, in a government job, that they would be in a public service pension scheme. So it's unlikely they'd be auto-enrolled. But if, say, maybe they're temporary or not yet permanent, excuse me, it may well be that the public service department decide, well, we're going to have to automatically put them into the pension scheme immediately. That's no different to any employer. If it's a thing that they don't, then they're auto-enrolled. So it's one or the other.
Even with the government department?
Yeah, so I would think it's unlikely that a government department wouldn't make an employee give them an immediate access to pension. So let's leave the government department out of it for a moment. Let's look at an employer. If I had somebody starting in the morning, even if they're on a probationary period, it doesn't matter. Even if they're not permanent, it doesn't matter. From January, they must have a pension, either be a member of an occupational pension scheme or be auto-enrolled. Okay? So if that goes for the government as well, we hope, right? That their staff member, even if they're temporary or whatever it be, will have to be in a pension scheme from January, be that the public service pension scheme or be it that they make a decision to auto-enroll them. I can't speak for the government. Thankfully, I'm not speaking for the government.
Right, it's just, this hasn't emerged before, that notion that a government department might use auto-enrollment.
Yeah, well, the rules are the rules. They're employees, so why wouldn't it apply to them? Now, again, that'll have to be checked with the government department, because all I'm speaking about here is the auto-enrollment, my understanding of it, and my understanding of it as an employer. Okay, so for me, and for FOH Financial Limited staff, it doesn't apply. We have a group pension scheme for our staff.
Yes.
So therefore, what happened was the information revenue took from the November payroll feeds into the auto-enrollment system, into that department. They can see that all the staff that I have on payroll have a pension contribution paid by FOH Financial Limited, and the employee is also making a pension contribution. So therefore, there's no need for auto-enrollment for that particular company or business. If it is a thing that there is a company or a business out there and they don't have a pension scheme, then what happens is the payroll from November is fed in via revenue into the future fund or the auto-enrollment scheme. It's seen that there's no pension scheme in place, and therefore all of those staff will be automatically auto-enrolled come 1st of January.
Interesting.
So
yeah.
the employer is key here.
And if a company hasn't moved on this so far in some sort of fashion, it's a bit late.
Yeah,
isn't
they
it?
need to
do
move,
so really,
because
quickly.
the hub opens today. So this is not all this is happening from the 1st of January.
And
this
there
is
are
in
fines
place.
going to be in
Oh,
place.
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, employers need to grasp this, and they need to go and look. And it, again, I'm not keeping hands off. I'm speaking kind of with two hats here. One is an employer.
Yeah.
You know, we're okay. We have our staff pension scheme, so it's not an issue for us. But as a financial advisor, it's not. Auto-enrollment is not something that we're involved in. Obviously, we have to be mindful of it for our, I suppose, clients, be they employees or be they employers, right? But, you know, there is responsibilities upon the employer. They need to wake up and smell the coffee or the...
Or whatever. Our second question then, Francis, on pensions. A person who has a limited company and is the only person in the company, do they have to be auto-enrolled?
So, no, technically, as long as they're Class S for PRSI, because they're technically self-employed.
Yes.
As a company director. But if you're registered for some reason as Class A, as an employee, then yes, the same rules apply. But it's my understanding that if you're under PRSI Class S, that it won't apply. Okay? Now, can I just add here? First of all, why does this person not have a pension? I might just throw that out there as a company director. But let's say that they do. And let's say normally with a limited company, the company is paying the contribution. That must show on your payslip. Just
Okay.
You know, it needs to show on your director, on your payslip on a monthly basis that the limited company is paying a pension contribution for you. So again, just, I suppose, answer what I was asked. No requirement under PRSI, as long as they are PRSI Class S, because they're technically self-employed.
Okay. On to our third question then, with respect to encouraging people to invest in a very volatile environment in the whole pension uncertainty of benefit, would it not make sense for the government to guarantee the end benefit? So they had no bother backing the banks during the bailout with the people's money. Well, whatever about the last statement, which is true. What about the other part of it?
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, but how likely is that? I mean, that would be the best defined benefit scheme in the world. So as a taxpayer, I'd say no.
Yeah.
You know, how could it possibly be? Don't forget, they can't pay for the guaranteed scheme that we already have, which is the state pension. I mean, how many times have we mentioned
Which is why we have auto-enrollment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, lovely idea, but
not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Okay. What happens your pension if you die before 65? This is a very interesting question.
Yeah, and I can't give you, funny enough, I can't give you a straightforward answer, because this is pensions and it depends on the pension type, and it depends on whether you've accessed it or not. It depends on whether you are married. It depends on whether you're single. It depends on, you know, whether you have children and what age the children are. So just to give you an example, a PRSA, or, you know, that you haven't accessed yet, okay, that is still intact, and God forbid you die pre-access, then 100% of that is paid tax-free to your estate. But if it's a pension that you've accessed and you have a resulting ARF, an approved retirement fund, so that's after you retire, and let's say you accessed it at 60 and that you were married and you pass away, that transfers as an ARF, an approved retirement fund, 100% to your spouse. Okay? If your spouse has predeceased you, that transfers to either your children or your estate. Now we move on to an annuity. Let's say you've accessed your pension, but this could be the defined benefit question, but you've got an annuity, you just went that route where you got your cash, but you have a pension on the drip, as I call it. That's where pensions sometimes get lost. Okay, it's the annuity, because it depends on when you did the annuity. Were you married, but it was done on maybe on a single life basis? And if that's the case, it could possibly die with you. If it's a thing that is done through a defined benefit scheme in a company, they would probably be in tune with your marital status. Okay. But that still doesn't mean, so say for example somebody has a DB payment and they're getting 30 grand a year, and there's a spouse benefit on it that in the event that they die, that 50% of it is paid to their spouse ongoing. If their spouse predeceases them and they've no children, or children that are of an age where they're dependent, could potentially be gone.
So it doesn't go into an estate or anything?
No. So that's the risks of annuities, and that's the risks of defined benefit pensions. And that's why sometimes people are saying, it's all right for you, you've got a defined benefit pension scheme. There are risks with everything. You need to be informed about everything and the pros and cons of everything when you're talking about pensions. So I told you it wasn't a straightforward answer. It really depends. But can I just say this? If you're in doubt, will you please check with either your provider or a qualified financial advisor who knows what they're talking about when it comes to pensions, and make sure that you get the opinion or the decision in writing that it's there.
It's a bloody minefield, isn't it?
Keeps us busy.
Absolutely. The fifth question: I have a pension that I suspended 8 years ago. I was losing money. Now state pension coming in. What should I do?
So that depends on your employment status now, and it depends how old you are, and it depends on how much you're earning. If you're going to be enrolled in the auto enrollment, you can't transfer your old pension in. There's no facility to do that at the moment, and it doesn't even make sense. So you will have to access that separately down the line, which I think you should, because if you have your own pensions, you can possibly access them, depending on the type, anywhere from age 50 but maybe later 60 on, and you can leave them intact all the way to 75, where with auto enrollment you can't access it until you reach state pension age.
So what they paid in to this pension will gather interest then while it's sitting there dormant? And
on their own pensions, again, depending on who's advising them and depending on where they're invested and how well they're invested. So I suppose the big thing I want to ask here is, first of all, obviously I'm saying they need to seek advice from a financial advisor. Yeah. But I'm especially interested to know as to why their pension was losing money 8 years ago. Why? I don't like pensions losing money. Look, stuff happens and people go into very maybe specific or niche funds, and that could be a reason. But any fund worth its salt should have well recovered. I'd just like to know, 8 years ago was 2017.
Yeah.
It was well post crash. I just think there's so many.
I read something different to that. I thought the person just couldn't afford the pension when they said they were losing money. So I'm not sure.
Look again, if they wanted to maybe come back to us and clarify.
With a little more information.
But really, I suppose the thing is, they can't move their existing pension into the auto enrollment, nor should they.
All right, okay,
even if they could.
Another one for you then, Francis. I'm 57. I started a pension 3 years ago. I pay 35% into it from my wages. Can I pay more into it as I'm taxed at 40% and my husband earns as well? That's in from Deirdre.
So, Deirdre, at 57, assuming you are an employee or even a sole trader, the maximum you can put into a pension is 35% of your salary. This is based on her age. Up to a maximum of 115,000 of a salary. Okay, so if you're earning 150, you can only put in 35% of 115. Okay, if you are a director of a limited company, that's a different matter. Okay, then you can put in an awful lot more into pension if you're a limited company director. Or you can speak to your employer. Possibly your employer is putting in a certain level, but it might be that you could negotiate as part of your package that your employer might start putting in more, but you are restricted. If you are an employee or if you are a sole trader, you are restricted to putting in 35% of 115,000. Maybe look at what extra maybe your husband could do relative, in relation to his salary, I would say.
I'm 39. Should I start a pension? I can guess what the answer to this is going to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, based on what you can afford, start small and build. Because sometimes people at 39, they might have, different things going on. It could be small children, mortgages, whatever it be, travelling, education, who knows. So I would just say start small and build. Of course, if you are PAYE, earning more than 20k, less than 23, and you're under 60, you have no choice from January 26. But please don't leave it down to no choice. Seek advice and start a pension stroke retirement plan because you choose to, not because you are made to. I think that's what I'm saying here.
All right. Started working paying tax from 1976, but when we were told of the collapse in 2007-2008, our pension paid into it for years was wiped out by the government. That comes in from Liam.
I don't know. And again, I just want to that we read this out because I don't want people to say, oh, they never read out. I just don't understand how the government...
Some of the semi-state pensions were interfered with at that stage, right, weren't they?
Yeah, maybe adjusted. I just don't understand wiped out. So maybe again, Liam,
maybe a little more
if you want to come
information
back, I just can't comment when I don't really know the full extent of what you're talking about. But again, I'd be interested to hear. Every day is a learning day as well. Just to hear people's experiences are important.
That's for sure. If I want to close my pension in England, how do I go about creating one in Ireland?
Very similar question to this before, but again, it's very relative, I suppose, to an awful lot of people who lived and worked in the UK. I would say, firstly, what is closed? Don't close your pension in England until you speak to an Irish or UK advisor, or your pension could end up in trouble tax-wise. You have to be careful how you bring it back. You can then possibly move your UK pension over here, if that's best advice, if you want, after you seek advice. And you can leave it in a pension pot, intact basically, called a buyout bond or a personal retirement bond. And you can access it down the line, potentially after 50. But again, you have to be careful about the amount of years that you're back before you access it. And then depending on your income, etc., here, you can set up an Irish pension, be that a PRSA or via work, again, after you seek advice.
All right, okay. Lots coming into us. And because it's about auto-enrollment, can I just throw a couple of small things at you? Fran, our company started a pension last week, putting a 1% to avoid the auto-enrollment. Can they do that, putting in 1%?
I think maybe have a look at the news today. I think the government are already stepping up, saying they're going to change legislation. Now, there's a bit of pushback against this, saying that some employers are setting up pensions with minimum amounts to and I'm just reading this as per this morning, avoid auto-enrollment. But it's my understanding that there will be minimum, as it is now, that it must be kind of aligned to what the auto-enrollment scheme is. But again, I would say watch this space. 1% would seem low to me for a group pension scheme. But again,
All right. Okay.
Every case is different. And I would just say watch this space. I think you're going to see legislation changing to, and again, difficult, compel employers, if they have a group pension scheme, to be paying in minimum amounts so that it's not avoiding what their obligation is. We'll put it that way.
All right. Today is the 1st of December then. Christmas almost upon us, can you believe, Francis?
Isn't it great?
The most expensive time of the year.
Oh,
really.
absolutely. And again, every year we say this, Fran, we're just saying, please, you are not feeding the nation, the province, the country. You just be mindful of what you're doing. Make your own list. Check it twice, check it 3 times. Just try and budget yourself and try and stick to it. I would say again, be really careful how you spend your money, how, ideally, please don't borrow if you can avoid it. But again, that's easy to say. Sometimes people have to, but just be careful how you borrow. Be smart about that. Be mindful of the interest that you're paying. If you're putting it on a credit card, if you're not getting rid of it within a very short period of time, then you maybe need to consider, should that have been on a term loan? And if you're doing it on a term loan, Christmas comes every year, right? So you need to be mindful as to when you're clearing it off, how long the time frame. Please be careful about kind of buy now, pay later schemes that are out there.
They've become rather popular over the last few years,
popular,
haven't they? Yeah.
Because, of course, it's easy. But just be careful. There's no such thing as a free lunch, right? It might be that you're paying more through a particular company, brand or website because of this facility. And it's kind of limiting your choice potentially, and you could be paying more for the goods. Furthermore, if it's a thing that you don't pay on time or when you were supposed to, you could be getting into higher interest rates, 39.7% APR I saw out there. And the other thing is that please be mindful. Just if it's a thing that you stumble in these kind of contracts, you can damage your credit rating. Some people don't realise that. Because the information, if you've more than €500, it transfers to the central credit register. So please be careful.
All right. Francis, always good to see you, and thanks very much, and a happy Christmas to you and all of your
same
team
to you.
as well,
please God, see you all in the new year.
All right, we look forward
happy
to
Christmas.
it. Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much indeed, Francis. That's Francis O'Hanlon there of FOH Finance in Clonmel. All right, we'll take a break, back with some global news in just a moment.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.